Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Late Drop presented by Future Fins. Future Fins has been by my side for as long as I've been surfing, and I trust them with my life, so support them because they support us. On today's episode, we have a special guest, Derek Dunfee. Derek's very open and honest today about his struggle with concussions, a lifelong struggle that continued with big wave surfing and some bad wipeouts. We go deep into how he's going right now. He has a new book called Making Waves. And it was a really, really interesting and tough conversation, but really stoked that he was open and honest. And I hope you enjoyed the episode.
I just thought, oh man, I literally just almost died.
This day just had that feel like every wave coming in was the wave of the day.
There was like a glass ceiling that was just shattered. And the next thing you know, it was like 10 levels up. Like, this is the experience I've been waiting my whole life for.
Well, Derek Dunfee, Double D. There's two famous Double Ds. Derek Dunfee and Derek Donor.
There is.
In the big wave world.
Derek Dorner.
How you been, buddy?
Yeah,
How's the world treating you in these weird times, and what you been up to?
Oh, everything's really good, actually. I'm really stoked. I surf every single day. I live right up the street from Windansea in La Jolla, California, so I get to surf every single morning. It's pretty awesome. I'm in great shape. I don't have any injuries right now, luckily. But, I've been pushing my book. I just recently wrote a book called Waking Up in the Sea. So I released that in April. So I've been really busy with that. So along with, my book, I've been really working with some brain specialists and different doctors and certain things like that to really help some of the injuries and stuff that I sustained from big wave surfing.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to dive into that a little bit later for sure, because I actually have an appointment to go get my brain looked at as well coming up. So
hey, good for you. I'm happy.
Yeah.
For
So
you.
I know what they're going to say. They're going to say there's nothing in there. So, so I'm ready for that. But But you just said you live down the street from Windansea, and I know you're a San Diego local. Were you born and bred San Diego?
Yeah. I grew up here. Went to school, here at Maryland's in La Jolla High School. I grew up here, still live here. I love surfing here, and that's one of the biggest things that has kept me here in La Jolla. I love surfing every single day. I'm fortunate that I have pretty cheap rent where I live. And so, I surf every single day. And this is where I grew up, though. And I always stayed. There was times, I feel like in the past, where I was close to moving to San Francisco or even up north for Mavericks, because I just love Mavericks so much. That's really the only place in my life I felt like I could move. I spent a lot of time on the North Shore and in Mexico and stuff. But in terms of moving, the only time I ever got close to moving was up north for Mavericks. But I got in such an awesome routine here. I could live like a really awesome, healthy life and surf every single day. I get in a good routine. So that's really, really it.
San Diego is a great place. It's for me, one of my favorite places in Southern California. It's it's so close to Mexico. You're close to Todos. You're just you're a 7-hour drive from Mavs, if that's pick your poison if you want to get up there, and everything in between. So
everywhere.
it's a cool vibe. And what was it like growing up in San Diego? What was Derek like as a kid? Were you was it just surf, or did you play the general
it was.
sort of like baseball, football, things that most kids do growing up in the US?
Hey, good question. But yeah, first I did play a little bit of sports when I was a kid, like soccer, baseball, those types of things. But I must have stopped and it only lasted a few years, and I stopped when I was about 10 or 11 because I loved to surf. And it was that surf. So through really in middle school, I found a group of friends that were just diehard surfers, loved to surf, and were a lot better than me, most of them. So I was, learning from them, and I got to just, develop some good friendships. I surfed every single day, and even through high school. It's one of the best things I feel like growing up right here, that I'm really fortunate that there was a great school. I got to surf every single day. Even, like you were saying before, everywhere in San Diego. I love it. If I had to move somewhere, I'm fortunate where I have, this place I've lived for 15 years, the same place. But if I had to move or something, there's so many places in San Diego that have really great neighborhood or whatever, good surf, good food. There's a lot of places, and you can commute almost anywhere in San Diego in about 20, 30 minutes, it feels like.
Yeah. What's yeah, San Diego has a rich surfing history. I know you know the Wind and Sea Surf Club.
Yeah.
You know the hut down on the beach is it's a very famous like location, you know, for Southern California.
Yeah,
it's in the world.
It's the Wind and Sea Shack. It's a historical landmark.
Yeah.
Actually.
That's cool.
It was recognized recently, the Wind and Sea Shack. It's really cool. I love that. Even there was a time during one El Nino when the shack got destroyed from the super high king tides, and it was gone. And I felt like something was missing. I'd go by the beach every day, and the shack would be gone. I would just be like, it almost hurt me. I'm like, you know. So they actually rebuilt it. It's there. They've been keeping it like the Wind and Sea Surf Club and a couple other people keep it looking nice. And there's certain, since it's a landmark, like you can't hang anything off it, or maybe have photo shoots or block it off or anything like that.
Yeah. So you said middle school, you know, you started surfing a good group of friends. Like, but who was it that got you into surfing? Like, did your parents surf, or was it your brother? You know, you have siblings that surf.
Yeah, my dad surfed when I was young, and he started taking me when I was a real young kid, probably a few times, somewhere when I was in the age of 5 to 8 or 9. He would take me to La Jolla Shores or Northside Scripps Pier. There's a couple places that were just great for learning. And so he took me there and taught me. And it wasn't really until, I met some kids that were already kind of competing in contests and stuff where I wasn't at that level or any understanding. I was just kind of surfing. At the time when I got into middle school, I was just surfing every single day at Wind and Sea, but I met these other kids because the way it works here for the Maryland's middle school, the school I went to, there's a couple different elementary schools. And when you go to the middle school, they combine like 2 or 3 elementary schools in different areas. And so that's actually kind of what happened. I met these other kids that went to a different elementary school that surfed every single day. And there was actually, like you said earlier, there's a deep history of surfing and at Wind and Sea and La Jolla, really everywhere in San Diego. But where I live, there's just a lot of really, really good surfers. A lot of them didn't have sponsors, but they're just incredible good surfers, great style, tube riders. A lot of people I just really looked up to.
Yeah, and what's did you, when you were talking about with the kids that were doing the surf contests? I mean, again, California with the NSSAs and all the school contests and all that stuff. Like, when did you, or did you get into that with those kids? Did you ever do those contests or start to do those contests?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I started those contests probably when I was about 13 years old, and I was losing every single contest. I always did really bad in those events, like forever. I did get better at surfing, but for some reason, my contest strategy and my emotional levels and stuff, I just couldn't read the waves right, and I'd freak out and just be upset for weeks, So as a kid, I wasn't taking it right, but I did get better and better, and I was doing those NSSA events probably till I was about, in high school, so I was probably about 15 or 16, and I quit because I remember leaving where I live, and the waves were really, really good, and I was going to an event somewhere an hour or two north at a beach break that when I showed up was really bad. So I left pumping waves where I live and went there, and I lost first round. And I was so upset that just made me want to stay here and focus on my surfing, get better, put time in a lot of these reefs to really learn about the ocean, because there's a lot of different types of waves. And people here surf different types of surfboards, whether it's like a big wave gun or fishes or something. There's a history of different types of surfboards that I can kind of pull information from. Yeah.
And what's so when did, at that stage when you're doing the NSSAs and you're not doing well, and is there at any stage through high school where you're like, you want to make surfing a profession? Is that something that's in your mindset, or are you doing well at school and you want to be a fireman, you want to be a doctor? Where are you in high school? Where's your head at?
Well, I was consistently like challenging myself. So I wanted to always get better. I always loved surfing. I always watched, different surf videos every single night. It was something I really wanted to do. But coming from, La Jolla, where I am, there's really not a huge group of sponsored surfers. So when I went to a lot of these contests and stuff, so I didn't have sponsors until later on. And that wasn't until I started getting better waves around here. And really, and with all that, I mean, I did have one goal of becoming a Tavarua boatman, because when I was growing up, there's a lot of boatmen around town that were surfing cloud break and surfing all these really good waves. And I talked to them, and I would always hear about, how barreled they got, stuff like that. And so when I was about 15, I wrote a letter to John Roseman, hand wrote it, went to his house, shook his hand, and said, "Here, I want to be a boatman." And, I've always loved like barrels and, just slightly bigger waves. I never had Mavericks or big wave surfing in my head, but it's really just kind of how things played out, because I was working I finally became a boatman in Tavarua when I was 18. I turned 18 out there because he said I couldn't work as a boatman until I turned 18 and was certified for all these different things. And so I went out there for 2 weeks before I turned 18 years old, and turned 18 and started taking boats out there. But when I was out there, pretty much the next summer or whatever is when I met Zach Warmout, just when he won his biggest paddling award. And I surfed, pumping waves with him, and he really sparked that Maverick stuff. But in terms of growing up around here in, La Jolla, I just really wanted to surf good waves, and I surfed every single day. But when I was about like 17, I got a spread in Surfing Magazine doing a big turn at Windansea, just doing like a cutback. And so I had a couple things that really just wanted me to keep trying. I got sponsored by Volcom when I was probably about 15 or something like that, like 8th or 9th grade. And that was really, really amazing. Like, just, I felt like I just was living my dream just by having that sponsor. And that was when Bruce had just signed with them, or was promoting him. And so there's certain things like that where I was really just trying to push myself. I went to Hawaii, to the North Shore, when I was probably like 15 or something, or 14 or 15, and Tom Doslin and I think it was Ahanu. I think it was those two picked me up from the airport in a car. And I think Tom was younger than me at the time, and they were driving. Yeah. And there was just this experience with hanging out with those guys and surfing, and they were charging and getting big waves already. And so it really just humbled me in a way, and just kind of set my sights on getting better, surfing bigger waves, understanding of surfboards, because at the time I was just riding shortboards, 6.3s, 6.6s as step ups.
Yeah, it seemed for me, looking from the outside in and not knowing you until I got to know you, but yeah, it seemed like what I would see was, you're at Porto, off the wall, you were liking those big open barreling style waves, and it seemed like you were I guess a free surfer, right? That was, I guess, back in those times, it was the ultimate time of where there was free surfing, right? Everyone was being paid well to be free surfers, movie clips, cover shots, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's when I started to see you a lot. Was getting the ads for Volcom at Porto and places like that. So. And that was around like 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, and that was hard to even get right there. I mean, I had times, like you said, off the wall and Mexico. I love surfing those types of places because I got more opportunity to get these waves, these bigger barreling waves. And I grew up surfing kind of places where there's etiquette and, some type of localism. So, excuse me. So when, I went to these places like Hawaii or Mexico, I had more opportunities, but sometimes, like even at Pipeline, like for me, it's one of the best waves I'd ever seen, but I didn't have any opportunities to catch waves. and I want to be just respectful with my etiquette, and I didn't want to call people off waves. I kind of saw what was happening there, and I just wanted to wait my turn, and I wasn't catching waves at, pipe, and I wish I could. I mean, I'm regular foot for one, so if I was a goofy foot, I think I would have tried to put more of an effort in there. But off the wall, Porto, those are places I love spending time, and it kind of really came from spending time on the North Shore and just watching some of the best surfing I'd ever seen, these tube riders and stuff, and me wanting to challenge myself, but really not getting many opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's not an easy gig trying to get waves
and
in Hawaii.
Even like what you're talking about, the ad stuff, it's funny. Like I had one of my sponsors at the time tell me, we're never going to like put you in an ad. We're never going to put you on a trip, and we're never going to pay you. And there's certain things where I wasn't making money, but I just loved it. And I felt like pretty good with my business. I never told anyone to F off. I was just like, all right, it's okay. I'm going to put my time in and just prove to you that I can do this. And a lot of those times, it worked out. I love surfing, so I just kept doing it. It wasn't like this phase.
Do you think that the transitioning into, let's talk bigger waves like Maverick style and that, like, was that being told that you're never gonna do that stuff, was big wave another way to go, hey, well, I'm gonna do this now, and I'm gonna get these styles waves, I'm gonna keep relevant, I'm gonna be more.
Well, I was already kind of doing that stuff, but it was a very slow progression with my big wave surfing. Like Cloud Break, even Hawaii and Mexico and Mavericks. I didn't catch waves in the first few years. It was something I was doing, kind of with sponsors, but not getting the waves. But after a few years of really figuring certain waves out, or certain times I could surf that had more of an opportunity to catch waves, I mean, things got better and better. And it wasn't like that didn't fuel it, because I felt like I was already accomplishing stuff. But I'm not someone to like scream at someone and tell them that I'm doing it right now. I just want to keep going. I was healthy and wanted to keep proving that was something that I wanted to do. And even with Mavericks, that was something I didn't really ever want to do. I never even thought about it until I met Zach Wormout, and we surfed Big Cloud Break, and he's like, you can surf Mavericks. You should come do it. And it was more of me developing a friendship with someone that was doing great things in surfing, because Zach already won awards. He was respected, but he had no ego. And so I was learning a lot from him in terms of just taking my time. It was like a lifelong thing. And after, 3 or 5 years, even longer, I started actually catching waves. But a lot of times I just show up by myself and just try to make friends, and even just check the lineup, the wind, whatever, just try to get better and better. That's why, I mean, it took years to do it, but I was determined, and it wasn't really for any other reason that I loved it, and I just wanted to keep challenging myself. I just wanted to keep getting out there, because once I saw it and I was sitting on my board at Mavericks, I was just hooked. I'm like, this is just incredible. I was just blown away, not only by the wave, but by the surfers, because there's all these surfers and Mavs I'd never heard of. And that's actually something I'll get into it, but I made a list of my favorite Jamie Mitchell moments. But and that's like, and one of them was, I remember in like 2007 or something, looking at Mavsurfer.
Yeah, I remember Mavsurfer. Yeah,
it was like Agroville and all that stuff.
Yep.
Do you remember? Like not many people remember that, but I remember looking on it and seeing a photo of you on a big one on like a cloudy day. It must have been 2006 or something. But that was when I first started going like, who the hell is this guy? Who's Jamie Mitchell?
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that, right? There's a lot of big wave guys that just they do it because they love it. You don't know who they are, and all of a sudden someone paddles into a giant wave, and then you know their name, and it's just I felt like actually we sort of started the Mavericks journey pretty much around the same time, because I think my first ever session at Mavericks was, I was actually doing a photo shoot in San Francisco for Quicksilver, and I was there with Dave Kalama, Peter Mel, and it was October in 2005, 4 or 5, and I was just been dreaming about surfing that place, and this swell came in October. It was like it was a windy 12 to northwest, 12 to 15 foot day, but I begged our marketing director at the time, hey, can we, and Bonga Perkins, And so I said, can we go surf Mavericks? Can we go surf Mavericks? So we ended up pulling it off, and Bonga paddled out in his longboard. Pete lent me one of his boards.
Epic. He probably got waves
yeah,
too.
and we
He got
paddled
waves
out
too,
and
right?
we surfed, and that was my first ever
Epic.
experience surfing Mavericks, and you know, and so that was around that 2005 time, and then you know that's where I felt like I started going more and more and more and running into you and everyone. So I mean, that's already like now that's 14 years ago. So time flies.
Yeah, it's cool. No, I just remember I wrote that down because I remember looking back. I just remember specifically looking at a photo of you the first time I saw you. You know, and even looking up, I didn't know you were a paddler even at that point either. And this was actually at a point also before like social media, and you'd have to really dig in on the computer to kind of find information.
Yeah,
I guess, or be just super aware of the scene.
Yeah.
Which I thought I was, and I didn't know.
Well,
So,
I mean, there's guys out there today that you don't know, and you paddle out and you're like, whoa, that guy's sending it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
you know, good. You know, obviously
Yep.
there's and some good quality surfers, you know, as well that are doing that. But so what was the steps for you, Derek? Because I know you guys have Blacks, right? Blacks is a pretty good place to start. You know, testing bigger boards, bigger surf, and obviously Todos is just, you know, Southern California big wave dream. It's just across the border. It's right there.
Yep.
Is that, how did you start to cut your teeth apart from, and obviously Tabarua going to Cloudbreak and stuff, but was that the progression? Like if anyone's listening that's a young kid that wants to end up surfing Mavericks from San Diego, like what was the progression like, and how were your steps until, you know, getting out to Mavericks?
I mean, I honestly, I only surfed Todos, I think, twice before I surfed Mavericks. And it was at a time where I think I wanted to do Todos, to go to Todos and Killers, because that was, for me personally, because I was sponsored by Volcom at the time and they had a house in Hawaii, I was spending a lot of time there. But Todos I only went there about twice before I started going to Mavericks. And then at that point,
Mavericks took over.
I spent all my time that was it, because you know, for me, just personally, I became such good friends with Zach Wormout that I would just team up with him. And, you know, the older I got, I realized how important it is to kind of team up with people and not paddle out. But he was teaching me this instead of me going down, because it can be tough in San Diego. There's not like big groups of people that go down to Todos every swell. And it might be easier now with Facebook and Instagram to put something up like who wants to go. But when I was younger, I remember going down like once or twice. And when I was down there, there'd be one or two random surfers looking for a boat to jump on. So it's not as easy because you have to drive down and take a boat out, but that wave is incredible. You know, it can feel, you know, when you're out there, it can be good, big or small, really. And it's a really fun trip. And I think for any young big wave surfers, Todos is a really great stepping stone, and you don't even have to go out there when it's big to really start feeling it. And you know, Todos. But if you're in San Diego, there's certain waves like Blacks and even Swamis. There's waves in La Jolla. They're great. Even down the coast, there's so many different places that you can take out a big board and test it. You don't have to necessarily go out a closing out beach break. I think it's important for kids to understand that you have to start riding these bigger boards more frequently. And so when that day comes, you're just actually in tune with this bigger board. That's one thing I learned just getting older and older, because it's hard to go from a 6.0 tri-fin to, you know, even for these kids, like a 7.0 gun or 8.0 gun. But there's a lot of waves. I mean, the biggest thing I think is, I mean, there's like Blacks and different ways, but there's also different ways to train and prepare for it before you reach out to people. Like start the mindset that you're going to have to be in the best shape of your life. And these are things that I was kind of doing because I was so committed to surfing that it kept me kind of out of trouble or partying as a teenager in high school. It just really kept me pretty straight in terms of my goals in big wave surfing and where I wanted to take it. And I did, you know, and it would have been different, I think, then if I had actually thought it, but it took me a little while even mentally because even when Zach told me you should surf Mavericks, it took me a little while to even that soak in, and for me to actually believe in myself to go to my shaper and ask for a board.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very important to, and you've mentioned a couple of times, and I love Zach Wormalt. I mean, you know, him and his brother, and But Zach's just such a solid human being, and I think what you said there is a mentor, right? So I think it's super important to have people in your life like that that can really, and Zach's a good family man. He good waterman. He loves to paddle, does the paddleboard races. They've got the Santa Cruz Waterman Club down there, and they do the Davenport Downwinder, and you couldn't have a better guy. He did it the right way. He was always paddling out first light. He was one of the first. I mean, I remember that's one of the things I remember about you and Zach is like, if I was out there early, you guys were out there earlier or early. It was always like the same people. And he loved it. And he's still the same. Zach's still putting time out there. And is he charging like he used to? No, but I think he's well aware of what he wants to put his body through and his family through. But he's still out there, and he was out there.
He got a
big giant one, big toe wave.
You were out there probably. You probably saw that live.
I did.
That big one, you got the barrel behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised he even grabbed the rope because I'd be scared. It's crazy when you get in those situations. I'm sure at Mavericks, even for him, he's been paddling out there for probably 20 years or 30 years. And to be out there and have an opportunity where you just whip into him, it seems really easy, but could be very dangerous as well.
Be careful what you wish for.
He's prepared. He's a great surfer. But for me, I think about it like if I've been in opportunities when I was shooting in Nazare. I think I saw you when I was with Nick Von Rupp. And those guys all were going like, when are you going to grab the rope? When are you going to tow? I'm all never. Never. I'm not doing it. But it's easy. It'd be easy for me just because I feel I'm in good shape. I surf every day to grab the rope and just whip in. But, I can't risk that with my concussions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, having like going back to the, having those mentors, and being able to, call someone up and talk about, is this one going to be good? And having someone be honest with you and, start to learn about what the forecasts look like and, the tides and, I'm going to paddle out for the late session or they'll be out there for the early and you need to do this, like you need to train, you need to, be in shape and all that stuff. I think just having someone like that is such a huge help, and, I know I get I get a lot of random questions on my Instagram too, and I from young kids all over, and I really try to make sure I answer everyone because, that little bit of information might be just enough for them to be like stoked and get the courage to go do something or to make it happen, So I think it's important to, to try and help the young kids.
I want to say I was going to say, I think it's really rad to see you and your little team, not little team, but you and I think it, the way I see you with Luca and JoJo at Mavericks, and I think that you guys take that, at Jaws and stuff. I haven't been traveling as much, but I was going to say, it's so cool to see you with those two and, you guys working together because the water safety has gotten so good. And there's one thing that I don't know if you probably don't even care, but to get credit for I feel like you've spent so much time on jet skis, Jamie, just doing water safety.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, you're out there surfing, but that was actually on my list, which I'm going to read to you at some point. But I can't believe the amount of times you're on there on a jet ski all day watching people. And people don't really do that as well, but you're working with the team and then you're also watching people's, wipeouts and stuff like that, which is incredible. It can be selfless at times because when the waves are good, you want to catch waves, but then you're also looking out for the surfers out there that might be, on a good one or paddling and catching waves.
I think the one awesome thing that tow surfing did was allowed everyone that was surfing big waves to drive a ski. You had to drive a ski and be able to be proficient on a ski, go in and save your partner. So I think when the paddle transition came, I think we lost that. I think there's a generation gap of a lot of kids that never really got to learn how to drive a jet ski or to be able to pull their weight, and
well, part of that, one thing that comes to mind is the NOAA jet ski ban. Do you remember that for years?
Yeah, there's a lot of things.
I don't know how long. There's some things that kind of put stuff back where we were, for me focusing on Mavericks, there wasn't jet skis allowed for years. And there's certain things that, you can go ahead. but there's certain things like in the past also that I think that we did the best.
Uh,
You're doing an incredible job,
yeah, I think it's
also,
I think it's
wasn't very
nice
prepared.
to, look, the last thing that I know for me personally, the last thing that I would want to do is to be out in the water and have a friend or anyone that's in the lineup be in a death defying situation and not being able to go help. Right.
Yeah.
That for me, and I was a lifeguard growing up, so I sort of have that mentality anyway. And so I drove jet skis, working on the, as a lifeguard on the Gold Coast and stuff. So I had that upbringing anyway. But I think more than ever now, just with the way everyone's pushing the limits and, paddling the giant swells and even those big toe swells now, it's, you want to be with people or partnering with people that will have your back and be able to, they're going to risk their life to save your life, in a way to put it, and I think that's, going back to Luca, like meeting him as a young kid in Half Moon Bay and seeing his drive and passion, and there was something in him that I saw in me, and I was like, oh, this is a good, young, respectful kid, and he wanted to learn, so, fast forward a few years, and the kid's a beast. He's an animal now, and
he's incredible.
It's just nice to be able to guide him, and now he lives with Laird now, and he's just, good things come to good people, but he's just given himself just to learn, to be a sponge, and I think that again it goes back to having some elders and some mentors to be able to point you in the right direction and be able to say, hey, you need to take a step back here, not just
that's important.
You got to be able to tell these kids to, hey, this is not the right way. This is what you need to do, and actually put them in check sometimes, right? Because as a 17, 18-year-old, you think you're invincible and this and that. And there's been times where, myself and even JoJo to a point have had to pull Luca into place and go, hey, you need to like loosen up, or you need to just settle down, or you need to just focus on this, and find your own way, but there's no right or wrong, but it's just, you're trying to help these kids not make the same mistakes that you've had to make, and but it's cool. I enjoy and like you said, having that little group that we've formed it's fun. It's a fun group. We laugh, we trust each other. Everyone's on the same program. We like chasing the swells, and we're up for it. So it's sort of like you'll end up finding your own little group, some groups and groove that you get into, and it's fun. It's fun for us to get on the phone and go, hey, let's do this, let's do that,
Yeah, I can see it, and that's why I even brought it up. I mean, it's like epic to see what you're doing, whether you're. So I know I see it. This last year or two, I haven't been out there, but I've seen you still catching waves, but also working with them too, and even going back to Luca, I'm so incredibly proud of him because he's been showing promise. He's been charging and surfing so good since he was a kid, and then this path that he's taken, he's just being so smart about it. And I can understand what you're saying about settling down, because he's probably in the best shape ever and really feels like he could do anything, which he can. He's got the ability, and he's getting there mentally and everything. But at certain times, I think, like what we've realized is surfing big waves for so long is you got to kind of just be really patient and wait for those good days, and having guys like you also to like say to step back if it's not worth it.
Yeah,
because it's easy also when you're there on the day and there's all these boats with cameras and there's a helicopter or whatever, and you want to catch waves. I mean, that's what I feel like you probably relate. We feel most comfortable in the water on our surfboards and being out there, but it's sometimes it can just end badly if you're not smart on a shitty day. Just a bad
and this would be a great, this story is going to be perfect for what we get into later with the concussions, but the last run I saw we had last year, which was incredible, and Luca basically had a concussion, and obviously the surf was pumping, it never stopped, and we had to stop him from going out the next day, because
amazing.
He should have probably not surfed for a week, but good luck telling that to a local kid that's, but he did take some time off, and, as now there's things you can do to help the recovery and all that sort of stuff. But that, just that there, right, is something that we're able to sit down and have a conversation with him, go, hey man, like you're like 18 years old. Like you've got another 30
you
years
guys are good
surfing Mavericks
friends,
if you want. But if you do something so stupid, you know, and there was even like a knee injury at some stage and a cut, there was all these things that like just didn't want to stop him. But it's like, hey, just slow down. You just, if you go out and do this tomorrow, you might be out for the next year. Now, is it worth it? You know, so just putting those things in those young kids' heads so they actually have to sit down and think about it. They actually have to sit down and go, okay, like now I've got the information, I need to process it. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell them they can't do it, but you hope they actually make the right decision. And if they don't, well, then they've got to live with it, you know?
Yeah, well, he's lucky to have someone like you. It's incredible. I feel like 10 years ago, we didn't really know many people that would have advised that. Not that they're not looking out for our best interest, but maybe we didn't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good that you told him, because what I realize is, you know, when you have a concussion and you have another one pretty soon after, like I had one in Fiji where I hit my face on the reef. And then about 2 months later was that code red swell. And I got hit by a wave so hard, I was dizzy and nauseous for about 4 months or 6 months. And there's things where I look back, I'm like, oh man, that's definitely because I was already rattled from the first concussion. I wasn't right. I knew I wasn't feeling right.
Yeah. So I remember that. I remember the cloud break, and I remember you talking to me, but let's go to, let's go, you know, from the start of Mavericks, you know, up until sort of your run at Mavs and really charging and chasing big waves and the double XL. Like, when was it? What year was it that you really started to get comfortable out there? And because you know you were starting to get set waves and taking the gnarly drops and really pushing it out there. And was that before the cloud break? Because the cloud break's the first big concussion, right, that you can remember? Or
yeah, I had a concussion when I was 2 years old. I fell out of the crib. I have medical records, and I've had, you know, I got beat up in high school a couple times probably, and shit like that. But in terms of my big wave surfing, my first one was in 2007. But I didn't, and that was, you know, for me, like I was first starting to surf Mavericks in 2004, 2005. December, I think of 2004 is when I first got out there. And then it wasn't until probably the winter of 2006, 2007, because in March 2007, there's a really good swell. It was sunny and glassy, and I had a really bad wipeout. But I was, up until that point, catching bigger and bigger waves, and I felt like I was on a roll. Even my wipeout in 2007, I flew. Like, I did a 360 in the air and wasn't wearing any type of vest or whatever. But I slapped my face so hard, I had a headache for, you know, like a week after that. And I had pretty much had a 2-wave hold down. Like, I came up and kind of got a breath before, like, this one just hit me square in the face. But I was messed up that night. And but in terms of my best waves, like, that happened in 2007. My best waves are probably 2008 to 2000, you know, 5 or 8 years after.
Yeah.
Because that was when I really first started in 2008, you know, after feeling really confident in 2007, or just even more, that because Mavericks is also like a spot where there's locals, and, you know, even if you do want that big wave, you have to kind of wait in the spot because there is a spot to take off. It's not, a lot of times you can't go too deep or you're just going to just get worked.
Yeah.
So it took me years just to kind of find out where to kind of sit and then finally, you know, catch waves. But yeah, I mean, my best waves are, my XXL winning wave was November 31st, 2008. Yeah. And that was, and even the day before was really big, and I had a really big wipeout, broke my leash, and went back out and got another one. So there's like, that was kind of my run up into, you know, those following years were probably some of my better surfing, where instead of just maybe trying to get a big one, I was trying to angle off the takeoff. Like at Mavs, instead of just going straight down, there's certain ways, like I watched Shane Dorian pulling that one barrel, like certain ways you could just kind of hook it and angle. It's really hard. Mavericks is like the most difficult place. But that was kind of what I was trying to get better and better.
Yeah, I remember that there was that Thanksgiving day they called Turkey Day, and I think Twiggy and Washi were on those purple and white striped zebra boards, right? That looked like it was a pretty good day for you as well. That was
the best day. Yeah, that was the best day, and I actually, wrote about that in my book. Like that was kind of a turning point in my just my commitment and my just being confident in myself, because I paddled from the beach that day by myself, and it took me like an hour to get out. And finally, when I got out, I just felt I felt really strong, and my XXL winning wave was actually my first wave I caught. I went out there and was just feeling it, and that day was just amazing. And yeah, Twiggy got a bomb, Rusty Long got a bomb. A lot of people, there's a lot of really, Nathan Fletcher had a really amazing backside drop. I think it spit. And there's a couple of those. I remember going up. I was definitely, when I caught that wave, I was not really well known at the time, or at least not getting photos. And a lot of stuff changed after I got my XXL award. Like that was something that, thanks to Bill Sharp and those guys at the time, because I'm grateful for one, I won that award. And then afterwards, a lot of these media sites and a lot of people were actually like publishing my photos or sharing stuff with me, because like you said, there's so many good big wave surfers, but to actually get highlighted in these features and stuff is really difficult.
Yeah, and not to mention the money helped to continue to travel, I'm guessing as well.
It was the best night of my life. I was actually just recently looking at video of it, and I can't believe I won. And I'm lucky. If you look back at the entries for that paddling award, it was I think Twiggy had a wave at Mavericks and at Dungeons with James Taylor. Do you remember that, when they had a really big one together? I think I'm just lucky that maybe one or two of the biggest waves, there's two people on the wave, and they would have had to split the award or something. I mean, that's I'm lucky, because I was like kind of the underdog at the time, and they gave it to me, and it was really amazing for my confidence, because at the time I had made a lot of, not even at the time, but like for years I'd made life choices in terms of like just being so committed to big wave surfing that I'm surfing every single morning, and I'm just so committed to like growing as a surfer. I was reading sports psychology books. There's a lot of things at the time I was really trying to grow.
Now, speaking of confidence, did you see that start to dwindle? And because you did sort of make a quick exit, if I'm being honest, you know what I mean? Like Derek was there and then he was gone. Yeah. And then you actually, but then you were back there because you were paddling out, taking photos, and which was rad, because
I like how you say that.
But
I'm gonna pull that.
Yeah.
Audio.
But what, was it a culmination of some of those, you start to think about the slaps, the wipeouts, the nausea you're feeling, the horrible, like take me through maybe the start of the end, will I say, the start of where it started to become in your mind, and what led you to obviously just saying, I'm done. I'm not going to go surf big waves anymore.
Yeah. Let's, excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. So I feel like, it's funny you say that. Yeah. I did make a quick exit, but part of that was I'd been struggling with concussions and like the way it was impacting me for a long time. And then I finally had to make that choice. But the two concussions in a row in Fiji in 2000, oh man, what was it? It was 2010 or around there. I should know that. But so I had two concussions, the Code Red swell, or 2012 or 13, whatever that was. I hit my head, and then when I got hit by that freaking wave on the Code Red swell, it hit me so hard, and the whole thing was I was sitting in the channel next to the boats, and everyone took off. And it wasn't like they were leaving me. I just wasn't really quite aware that the swell was going to triple in size. And I had the grower section right on my head. It hit me so directly impact that, that concussion really kind of changed me. And throughout those years, it was never my drive. Like I wasn't scared of big wave surfing. It never was like my desire for that change. It was more of just these concussion symptoms were working me. When I had that Fiji hit, I'm not sure if I was knocked out. I don't remember, but I was dizzy and nauseous and felt like I was like, it's like being hungover for 4 months.
Yeah.
And it was these waves of fog going in and out and in and out. And part of that is it wouldn't have been so bad if I took a break after that first concussion. But then even after that, I recovered. I took a year off and I was doing better. I found ways to heal myself and get my happiness back. I never went into depression at all throughout this. It was more of just a confusing time, like nausea and dizziness and that
frustration.
That really, and more frustration because I want to, like, I have just such big dreams with my surfing. Like, you know, even at the time I dreamed of what people are doing now, like Kai and Nathan Florence at Jaws, where they're packing barrels. Like, that was what I dreamed about. And I can't do it and it was just this weird thing to think that I wanted to be the best big wave surfer in the world. And I actually had times I really believed I could do that, but these concussions just kept, just worked me in a way that I knew I had to stop. And it was a slow kind of progression, but you know, I had a couple more concussions in those few years. I hit my head off the wall. I was going to Hawaii for Jaws. I stopped in Oahu, surfed like a not a very big day at off the wall and hit my head, and I was dizzy and nauseous for a few weeks. And then, you know, a few months later, I hit my head in the shore break at Windansea, right down from my house. It was like half a foot, and I got hit by this wave so hard I think I rolled up. I didn't know what happened. I felt like I got knocked out. It was insane. And so I had a couple more, and then at Cortez Bank, I actually had like pretty much a drowning experience, and my head just didn't work right after. Like it was really confusing because it was like a memory thing. It was like mental fatigue. You know, I was nauseous, I was dizzy for a long time. And even from that Cortez Bank experience, because I got so freaking worked, I was like semi scared of the ocean. And it wasn't that I was scared, I just like I just became really kind of weird and cautious. Like I just knew I had to make a change, and like I just had this weird kind of fear of big waves. Even though I love surfing, when I'm out there, it feels good. And even when I get out there, it feels good, but it just gave me a lot of anxiety. I also was worried about, you know, since this stuff's already been on my mind, I started thinking about stuff like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stuff from CTE, real stuff that I felt like at the time could happen, and now I'm actually like kind of going through just like more, I know, but at the time I'm very fortunate that, you know, I had these fucked up things that, pardon my language, I won't say that anymore, but I had these string of concussions, you know, this beating at Cortez Bank that just sent me more emotionally kind of unstable, made me just like realize I had to stop surfing big waves. And it takes, and I'm sure like you, because you're still very successful, it's very hard to, for me, I felt like I had done more than I really ever dreamed, but I knew I had to stop. And so part of that, you know, I go into detail about this with my book, because sometimes with my brain, it's hard for me to really put out like kind of what I'm saying. But, you know, in my book, I took 2 years to reflect on these decisions. And part of that was I got really into photography, and even that, not really into it, but I'd been taking photos for my whole life, taking notes every trip my whole life. But up until that point, I hadn't really invested into like real good action equipment, like a Canon 1DX Mark II or a Red, or the best of the best, because I've been shooting with film cameras, with Yashica T4, Holga, wide lux panoramic camera, Holga, I don't know if I said that, whatever. But I've been shooting that stuff, but I wanted to get the best action gear so I can go sit on a jet ski. I felt like I had developed these relationships for so long and I've been paddling for so long. Now I can actually take these people up on the rides on the jet ski. And so I really had to make a choice to start shooting because I couldn't surf big waves anymore. And that was something that I couldn't tell people, you know. It's not that I couldn't tell people, I just didn't want to fully express to people how hurt I was. And that, but for one, I love surfing and big waves and all this. And I've been printing these big wave mini magazines called Deca. And I've printed 5. It's like 15 years of big wave surfing, but I did it over a 10-year period. So I'd already been making these, and these were just things that I just invested more time in because my brain was just worked, you know. And even now, like I think back to being on jet skis at big Mavs when I'm like, you know, at certain times when you know, people tell me to get off the ski to make a rescue, or at Nazare when it's just insane and really big. And I'm like, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Because if I got one slap or one hit, I'm going into depression for 6 months, pretty much.
Yeah, it's it.
And I'm doing good right now, but that's the thing. I went through all this weird shit where I'm fortunate for one, I never went into any type of weird and deep depression, but I always have anxiety. Like I learned through my brain specialists and a lot of stuff. Just I have a higher risk. Like I just kind of have more anxiety and stress. And there's a lot more stuff I deal with currently. And, you know, it's my right eye. I don't know if you want to go into that now, but my, like pretty much now my right eye doesn't focus. If it does, it's for like 1 second. Like if I close my left eye and try to pull focus on my right eye or whatever, it only like, it'll be there for like half second and then it's blurry. And I realized that now from all those freaking big wave surfing concussions and repeated stuff that, you know, I was feeling messed up for years and not sure why. But I realized a lot of it has to do with my right eye and my VOR, which is my vestibular ocular reflex. It's my eye's ability to fixate on the object when my head's moving. So if my head's moving, I can't focus. And if my head's still, I'm fine. And so that's why I get so sick on jet skis, boats, planes. That's why I always even avoid to get on jet skis and boats. And even, you know, at times working like with Kai Lenny at Jaws, he has a rad boat, but I would never even get on the boat. I just sit in the water all day on my surfboard with my camera. And so there's these things where it's all, you know, it's really like my eyes mess up. And that's actually why I had to stop shooting photos also, because I can't focus my eye. And I realized that there's so much shit that had to do with my big wave concussions that's kind of related to my eye. And when it gets blocked, or if I'm in a car, I'm not in control driving, you know, my head, it's like a network of issues. It's not my vision, you know, it's not like specifically my vision. And I even tried to ask my doctor, like, if I wear an eye patch on my left eye, will it just, or excuse my language, if I put a eye patch on my left eye, will it just jumpstart my right eye? Like an old car. Can I just get that network going? He's like, no, don't do that. Even me doing that right now, like it makes me feel weird. I get off balance, like I could fall over.
So when was, when was the time that you actually, because I know there's, I'm not sure if you've been working with Audrey and one hit away.
One hit away, yeah.
Because I'm guessing that, you know, you were able to work out ways that made you feel better. But when did you really? I'm guessing there was a moment you actually went, and had your brain scanned. And I'm not sure if I remember you saying at some stage that they said, yeah, Derek, you look like you've been a professional football player. That's what your brain looks like.
But that took a while. Yeah, but that took a long time. I had people, you know, like Sean Dollar and certain people that, because I kind of went through a dark period last year when I was writing my book. I was isolating myself to really reflect on what happened to me and what's going on, all this stuff. So I was isolating myself. I was getting kind of dark. I even it was just like I was texting Sean Dollar some just dark stuff. And he knew I needed like help. It wasn't like I was in a deep depression. It's a really just confusing period. Like I wasn't so dark because I surfed every single day. I was exercising but I wasn't doing like really mentally right. And so he was trying to help me, and I was starting to get more calls and emails from people from like One Hit Away and Audrey. And it took me 6 or 8 months. And it's hard because I've seen a lot of specialists. And when you see a lot of specialists for so many years, because I started seeing people back in 2012 after Fiji, I started seeing people, a lot of times they start stuff with like, hey, we're going to do a lot of things and you might not feel right. And this is going to make you feel weird. And you do so many tests and it makes you feel worse than before. And there's things that I've found personally, a balance of happiness and surfing. And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. So they need that help. But regardless, I was not as healthy. I would like drink heavily on the weekends. I was working in a restaurant. And so I was working like 40 hours in a restaurant and drinking heavily on the weekends. And it was just like my energy levels. And in terms of like, even like if I drank heavily on the weekend, I'd be hungover for 3 days and working. And it's just like this emotional, I got to points, you know, working in, you know, through COVID and through the summer in a restaurant where I'm just working so much. And I just was just like, at times I'm like, man, just don't want to go into work. You know, like I mean, I just remember thinking like I'd rather die than go back to work. And just because, and it wasn't like I wanted myself, but it was something that I was just like, man, I'm working so hard, and it's hard. Like I've been working in a restaurant for 8 years. Even when I lost my sponsors in like 2013, and I've just been continuing, just like, you know, I've always, just like I said, like believe in myself, and I just keep going with my dream and all this stuff. But even regards to like me talking to Sean Dollar, and I was just like, just kind of dark. And so he reached out and talked to all these people, and I just started, I didn't put much effort into finding doctors, and they really showed me a doctor where I live in San Diego that's helped me more. And he's really the one that did like hours and hours and like 300 tests and figured out that, you know, it's my right eye. And it's actually great to know, because it's not like this thing where I have to keep getting scans and I have to keep going in and keep feeling, because I feel like people that have concussions, like it's really great having that awareness and talking to people. But at times you can feel like a mental patient, and you can feel like special, or like kind of people see you and they're like, how you doing, buddy? Like, you all right? Everything okay? And they're like patting me, and I'm like, you know, I'm fine. And I'm sorry about the bad language, but I'm like, a lot of times when people, you know, because I'm lucky I found a way to be strong, but it's difficult sometimes to be open about concussions and stuff, and because some people kind of are unsure of how to communicate. But and even regards to me now, I'm good. Luckily, I think the biggest thing was that seeing that specialist and doing all these tests, and even realizing and coming to the you know, conclusion or whatever, that my right eye is really bad. And I even did 3 months of therapy. I did all this stuff. I'm not better, you know, and there's stuff I could dwell on. And I think as with people with concussions, you can always dwell on that and feel like you're just gonna, you know, just like waste away, which even for me, I feel like I have like 10 or 15 years before Alzheimer's and, you know, the real Parkinson's, all these real bad dementia, things from CTE. And I'm already kind of feeling like I look at the symptoms, dementia is real vague. And I'm like, there's stuff like that I feel. And there's things that I'm like just preparing everything to be healthy, so that it's not like, and part of what I'm getting at is like, I feel like I'm fortunate I got this help. And instead of waiting 10 years to realize my right eye is blind and I'm in a dark depression and actually suicidal, stuff like that, it's good to know. And also, like, even though I talked about being open about this stuff at times can be hard, it's really great. Like social media, I've shared some stuff on my Instagram where I've gotten like more response from people that it's so incredible. Like, people can talk crap about Instagram or whatever, and I've had the most incredible response from my followers. Anytime I confess something like, hey, I'm having a tough time, I left this brain doctor and, you know, I did these tests or whatever the hell, and they're just showing like so much love. So there's like stuff with that is like super awesome, but I have to kind of limit it. Otherwise it can just take over my life, and I'm not really, as much as I want to advocate for like awareness and stuff, I'm not really trying to just take the role as like a like the speaker of
well, I think what you were saying earlier too about when we're talking about role models and having someone to speak to, like, you know, for anyone that doesn't know, when we've been talking about Sean Dollar, like Sean Dollar was one of the best big wave surfers in the world, had the world record from Mavericks, and he got paddled into a giant one at Cortez as well, and he had a horrific wipeout, you know, up in Northern California as well. And I don't want to speak for Sean, but I do remember him, you know, mentioning that he went through some very, very dark times, and you know, he's got a young family and not being able to surf again, and you know, and to be able to have him, you know, because he really went. He's the first surfer that I know that really went and got the tests done and had the specifics done, and actually they scanned his brain and said, hey man, it looks like you've been playing football your whole life, you know, and actually really went through all the medical recovery process to get him back to where he is today. And from what I see, it looks like he's in a really, really good place compared to a few years ago. So to have someone like him to be able to talk to and to bounce ideas off and to get dark with is good, because you need to express those feelings, and you need to, even like talking on the podcast today, it's good to, it must feel good to sometimes just talk about it and get it off your shoulders,
Totally. Yeah, and that's why I wrote this book, and Sean was actually a part of it. He actually saved my life at Cortez that swell. He plucked me out of the ocean when I was face down, and that's part of, like, even when I text him, like I was saying, like when I was dark, I text him, I wish he didn't save me, and stuff like that, where, I was like, he actually really saved my life, pulled me out, and, because I don't know if even, I got knocked out and had this crazy ordeal, and he saved me.
That same swallows Greg, right? Yeah, I was on the boat with Sean. We were on the same, we all went out on that trip together. So, it's.
Yeah, so that's, he really saved me. I didn't have water safety. I go into detail with this with my book, but he saved me. And that's like, we have this kind of bond where, I, even for years after, every time I got hammered, I'd text him, "You saved my life. I love you," and it wasn't until years later where I got more dark, And I'm very fortunate that he, not only did he save me then, but and when I text him this stuff, he'd, because that's the thing, being pretty aware if you have a friend going through shit, because Sean, if I texted him something dark, he would send me a video of him going, "Hey, Derek, just want to let you know I love you, man. You got this. Like, hang in there. It's going to get better, man." Boom, that's it. And there's certain things, like, he would actually just do that. And there's certain times where if you tell people, like, "Hey, man, I'm having a bad day. I'm going through shit." And a lot of people don't want to hear it because they're going through shit. It's kind of a tough thing to talk about. And, I don't know. It's just,
I think we all need it, man. I think that no one's unsusceptible to that stuff. We all go through hard times. I know that I have certain people that I'm able to talk to, at certain moments in my life when I'm doing stupid shit and feeling depressed myself. I think that we all need to, as males, I think females do it better, but as males, we need to be more open with our feelings and saying how we feel and being open and honest with our feelings, because it's not good bottling them up, whether it's whatever it may be, with what you're going through, or, especially in these times, COVID and no jobs and lockdowns and all that bullshit, it's like more than ever, we need to be able to have those people that we can go to, like you said, in those dark times, because it's so very important to just, like you said, just a little message, right? Saying, "Hey, man, you got this. I love you." Like, just that could stop you from going off the deep end.
Yeah. And it's tough. Everyone's busy, but you gotta, I don't even know what a good turnaround time on a text is. Even if you text them back within like freaking 6 hours.
Yeah, I think if someone's sending you a pretty dark text,
like, people are busy, but if you just can get back to them, and if someone's at the beach for a few hours, you got to give people some space. But I've learned, since I'm currently going through it, and I'm actually like doing good, and but I'm currently kind of just, it can be difficult because, let me think of a way to say this. It's just hard at times. Shit, I forgot what I was talking about. Can you remind me?
We're just talking about being able to talk to other people, and then.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Sorry, that's one of those things. So part of what I was getting at is everything I'm going through, because I'm currently going through it. Instead of me telling people what to do, like, you need to do what I did, or this helped me, or this helped me, I'm just trying to be open with what helped me, and I'm there to listen and hear what people are going through, because concussions can be so different. If you get punched in the side of the head, or if you slap your face on the water, or if you slip down the freaking stairs, whatever. Everything's so different when we see brain doctors, that it's really hard to kind of diagnose this stuff. So I'm really here just to, like, mainly share what I'm going through, because brain injuries can be so difficult and long lasting that people really need to, like, for one, just want to help themselves and research it. And I like sharing what I'm going through, because I don't want to tell someone to do something and then they end up feeling off for weeks.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, like I look back now, and I've spoken to Audrey and the guys at One Hit Away, and I'm actually going to go in and get some tests done, and it's just for me. For me, it's just something that I'd like to do. If there's something going on and I can actually start to, help it recover and make it more longevity for me, like I think that's a good thing. Being proactive, right? But I look back at, I haven't been. I look back at a couple of specific wipeouts. There's one in Calbomy where I definitely had a flash knockout. I was underwater. I woke up, and then there's the Jaws contest 2 years ago where I had that free fall from the top of the wave. That one I'd flash, insane. Quick flash. I remember hitting and then being on the bottom, on the rocks at the bottom of Jaws. The same day as Albie had his really bad.
I think you told me about that. You were on the bottom. I think you told me which.
Yeah, and
right?
then
you said you were
and that one there really hit me because it knocked my confidence out of me, and it took all the way until this year to find it back. Because that was my last big wave. And then I went through that all of 2020, 2019, and then I had to wait until this past year to when I went back to Jaws. And I didn't want to paddle out. I was scared, and I'm like, I was like, fuck, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? I was just like, I just wasn't feeling it. And then I went to Mavericks, and I was able to get a few waves and sneak some, and I got two at Jaws and made them, and I was building my confidence back. Then we got all those giant swells, and I felt like I got my confidence back to a level where I was, and then it wasn't until I actually took a big wipeout and came up that I was like, oh, you know what, I can do this again, but I know that for sure, I've had some big hits, and for me personally, I'm just going to go get it checked out. Whatever comes from it comes from it. But like you said, like it's guys like yourself and definitely Sean and seeing Albie, because there's so many different, like my concussion was, I didn't get nausea, I didn't vomit. I definitely had a fuzz. I definitely had a little slight hangover fuzz for a while, and just some weird stuff going on. But then, Albie was violently throwing up in the channel, and then you saw his, he was pretty open with his recovery as well. And he was neurosurgeons and brains, and you're like, wow, man, that's gnarly. Now he's surfing with a helmet. So just goes to show you that.
Yeah, Kai Lenny too. Kai has been. That's the thing. It's great seeing guys like Albie and even Kai wearing a helmet. It's so cool because when we were younger, I remember Tom Carroll, and there's a couple. There's just a few people when I was growing up wearing them, and now seeing Albie wearing one when he's doing huge airs or surfing. I'm not sure if does he wear it at Jaws.
I think he.
Or is it just for airs?
Yeah, I think there was. George really hasn't done much. I know he got a tow wave, and I think he was wearing a helmet. But look, I think he's pretty smart. Albie's a smart guy. I think that think that you'll probably see him wearing a helmet if that's what they recommend, or if that's how he feels.
Well, it's tricky with big wave surfing because you just the impact of a wave. It could be like getting exploded underwater, or slapping your face, and helmets are really, really great. And there's just certain things. I remember having a conversation with someone in Porto or somewhere where I was wearing a helmet, and they were like, no, I would only wear that if I was surfing a sharp reef. The thought processes of you don't want to cut your head. And I think that hopefully in the future there'll be, I don't know what the hell Kai Lenny's wearing, but he's got some pretty radical looking helmet. And I'm sure in the future there'll be something, some sort of helmet that might help with.
Well, there's a new company out called Simba helmet, and it looks like you're nearly wearing the once were the crazy Warriors helmet, but Gary Linden's got something to do with it. Terry Sims, I think, and Gary Linden are doing stuff. They look
like a Spartan.
Yeah, looks like a Spartan helmet. Yeah. But I know they're super into it, and they, look, Nathan Fletcher.
But it's tricky. it's tricky with that because surfers are like worried about possibly what they look like, you know. So it's like finding something that's like real,
Yeah.
kind of slick, but not. But the thing is I went snowboarding. Everyone's wearing a helmet. I wore a helmet.
Yeah. Well, Justine DuPont is wearing she's wearing like a rugby union style soft shell style. She wears that too, you know. So there's a bunch of different stuff coming out. But Derek, what's your sort of day-to-day recovery? I know that they say that hyperbaric oxygen therapy is really good for recovery. You know, certain supplements, I know, like high quality omega-3s, fish oils, all that sort of stuff. But what is it that you do like on a day-to-day basis to help yourself feel good?
No matter what, I surf every day. So I surf wind and sea like every morning, really early. In terms of also, you know, that's really helpful, you know, just to stay physically fit. Hold on one second. You know, so I surf wind and sea every morning, no matter what. Besides that, you know, I've been doing the hyperbaric oxygen therapy for two times a day for a few months. I had a mobile one in my house, and that thing was pretty crazy because when I first got in it, it felt like everything I've been avoiding for years. It's like that pressure that made me feel nauseous. And for me, one thing I think it felt like one difference in like over a few weeks, it wasn't something that I had an immediate response to, but after weeks, just because I was almost claustrophobic and the pressure was just working me, it's like that type of pressure is the same pressure I feel in a car when I close the door and when I'm in there, and it just kind of makes me feel nauseous or dizzy. So that's the one thing with that. But the hyperbaric has been awesome. It's been really helpful. I think just encourages blood flow into your brain. There's certain things that I think that it's more helpful for people that have been in an accident more recently. For me, I just had a lot of repeated concussions, so it's just encouraging blood flow. I'm hoping that it's getting more blood flow into my eye because that's where a lot of my issues are. I also do online eye exercises that train my eyes, like just ability to fixate on a moving target. It's just trying to like, there's certain things with my eyes that are kind of shaky when I do these certain movements, and my right eye can't track certain stuff. So that's one thing. I've been doing that for a few months. Really haven't seen much improvement, like they said, which is unfortunate, but I'm just trying to get better. I have some glasses and some stuff. They had this 808 star chart, which is something I put up on the wall. I'm like, it's almost like hand-eye coordination, and you know, between my two eyes, and I'm just clapping, doing just different stuff like that. And with that, I kind of on my own started playing the piano again. I played when I was a kid. There's certain things with my hand-eye coordination between my right hand and my left hand that I was struggling with. And I felt like a lot of the exercises they were doing were pretty similar to like me, you know, playing piano and my coordination between my two hands and my brain. Those are things. I mean, I ride my bike. I have a 64 Ranchero, but it's not really running right now. So I just ride my bike.
Yeah, cool. That's cool. Go back to play the piano. That's rad.
Yeah, I played when I was like freaking 5 years old. And that's something that right now, when I started playing, it really kind of, I also started doing that a lot when I was writing my book because I was off Instagram. I went off Instagram for a few months because I felt like I really wanted to focus on finishing my book and reflecting, making sure I was putting the right amount of energy and time into that, not being distracted. So at the time, and instead of just grabbing my phone, I had this little keyboard. I would just like, you know, play certain stuff, teach myself. I kind of suck at it. I've gotten better. So there's certain things that, like as much as they give me these exercises, I have to challenge myself outside of that. And even like learning about my 64 Ranchero, I don't know anything about cars really before this. I've always owned one, but to know about like fixing them or even how to work on them, learning about them, this was really foreign to me. And so I'm learning about that. So I'm trying to challenge my brain to really grow and get better, but it's also difficult at times to read for me because my eye and look at the computer screen. Usually, honestly, I'd probably almost always have my glasses on if I'm looking at the computer screen for the song because I get a headache and it just like, you know, people wear these blue blockers to like block the light if I'm in certain places. You know, so those are just certain things that you know, work on.
Yeah. What advice or how would you tell someone that's, you know, not only surfing big waves, but that have maybe had concussions like this, you know, what would be some advice that you would give someone, would, you know, to go get checked up, or how do you start the process to, if you start to feel like, you know, getting the symptoms that you had?
I think most people know whether they've hit their head. It's not like a real confusing thing. So I think if you know you've hit your head, you've had some sort of concussion and you're off, I mean, I think at that point, you know, you know, and for one, it depends on if you kind of had one or if you've had it a repeated amount over years. And that's what I kind of dealt with. And if you've had one, there's ways of not having to go to a doctor, and you can find your own happiness and find your own strength, and you don't have to feel like you're a patient at all times. But there's certain things like I feel like are important. I'm not sure, you know, like I try to lead just by like example with everything that I'm doing. And the more that I try to preach like about what people should do, it gets interesting, especially with like medical care. And I do want to help. I think for kids or anyone that's going through this stuff, if you do feel like you have had a concussion, you have, and you should look into, you know, just trying to help yourself. Because I think that once you understand, like, oh crap, I've been feeling off. And a lot of people don't really realize it, because the body's very good at working while it's like, or the mind's very good at being like working while it's dysfunctional, and like growing with dysfunctional stuff, or like you can slowly deteriorate in your body. You'll kind of feel like,
Yeah.
So there's certain things that I think that it's important to kind of gauge, you know, yourself, and then also, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
guess
makes sense.
you know, is there like a website or a company like One Hit Away, like that would be
Yeah, one hit. Yeah, that's
a
the
good
thing. I mean,
place
so,
to go
like,
and
I've
get
been
some
very vague
information and
talking to
read up,
circle.
or go to their website and
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I think that, well, there's an incredible amount of information. And so that's like one, like if once you realize you need help, it's a big step. A lot of people I talk to are like, hey, thanks for sharing. I think I need help. So that's like the first step. Second is just, you could do a crazy amount of research online. One Hit Away, even Sean Dollar did a whole write-up on his website about this types of stuff. I wrote this type of stuff, and I actually wrote a book, Waking Up in the Sea. It's on my website, derekdunfee.com. That's something I really go into detail about what I've been through and how I'm dealing with it now. And I think that information's out there, and even social media is awesome. Instagram.
Well, I know Audrey
You can direct message,
Lambedicus.
you know?
I hope I didn't butcher your last name, Audrey, but I know that she's been a real advocate, especially for the big wave community, since though she shoots us. I know she's a wealth of information, and she's working with that One Hit Away as well. So, you know, look, any big wave surfers out there that have any questions or something, maybe shift them towards Audrey. She can definitely guide you in the right directions. It seems like she's very passionate about it, because she's dealing with it herself as well.
You know, and all surfers, not just
Exactly.
big wave surfers. You know, like I've realized a lot of surfers, even like I'm scared to do a floater now, and like certain things surfing. Like I used to love to do these little airs surfing on a small board, and now I'm scared to like catch my rail and slap my face. And so there's certain things, like for everyone, I think it's important. And also, I mean, people can reach out to me on Instagram. Like I'm open to it, and I will guide people. I'm not always there. It's hard to take so much time to listen to everyone, but I'm always there to help guide them to like where I think might help. I'm in San Diego, so most of the people that I've really tried to kind of, and it's also kind of tricky because I try not to reveal too much about my medical history to people when I'm talking, because a lot of people want help and they're like, who are you talking to? And it's tough not revealing too much about maybe my doctor, my medical, whatever. But it's, you know, I'm in San Diego. If people are in San Diego, they can reach out to me. Sean Dollar's in Northern California. And I think that with you being in Hawaii, I think there's like 3 of us right there that can either direct people to a good place, because it can be very confusing and people can get like real dark, and it can be like a confusing, like they don't quite understand it or don't know if it's depression or not. And just to kind of hear this is and to know that there's hope and people that will help.
For sure. Well, anything else, Derek? You wanna say? Is there any thank yous you want to give out? Maybe a shout out to where we can find your book, anything like that.
Yeah. So if you want to find my book, I spent 2 years on it. I'm so proud of it. There's a photo of you in it, Jamie. I want to send you.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Here, look. This is it.
Nice.
So this is my book. You can find it at derekdunfee.com. I actually just kind of, with everything kind of happening, I was a little slow to plan events. I just had an event at Pilgrim in Brooklyn, New York, thanks to Chris, and then also at Head High. It's a bookstore and a coffee shop, thanks to Moscow and Alexandra. Like, I just had those shows. Yep. And so I'm going to start trying to plan something. It's a little tricky right now with some of the like guidelines and stuff, but I'm really trying to, sell through my website. And then also I'm going to be doing some stuff in California. Like, I'd like to do a book tour, but I've talked to a few people. I've actually been talking to Brian at the OPL. He wants me to have a show there, which would be epic. I love
that'd
that
be cool.
But if there's anyone out there that thinks there's a great venue too for my book, just to have a show, I'm really happy to share this stuff. And also thank you, Jamie, for doing this. Like, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm proud of everything you're doing with I can't believe that's the thing. I took such a, like you said, like a quick exit. But it's amazing to just see you and just charging so hard. But not only that, like passing down this knowledge to these young guys. It's really just really incredible. So good job with that. Thanks,
buddy. I appreciate it. And kudos to you for being so open today and honest and vulnerable, I guess, but it's really good. We need people to, information is key, right? So and like I said, you're welcome to reach out to me anytime, buddy. No matter how dark it is,
no, I appreciate
I'm there for you.
No, we're good. We always talk, but I'm not always that great on my phone too. Like I barely look at it. So, but yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry if there might have been a couple of times I might have talked in circles and forgot what I was talking about.
It's all good, brother. And I'm stoked that you're doing well. And congrats with the book. And I do see you surfing every morning. I see you surfing those crazy weird waves and waves everywhere. That's really cool. I like seeing it.
Yeah, but even with that, like all winter I was surfing these fun waves by my house. It was the first winter I didn't have a car, so I just walked everywhere. And it's funny, even with that, like right now after I saw the specialist after I surfed that stuff, if I'd seen the doctor before, I would have never surfed that stuff. I would have never done any of it. Like I got to be so careful. I need to surf like 2 foot, 3 foot little waves and be careful. But it's funny you bring that up. Like I'm done. I'm just like cruising.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Who knows, man? We live in a world where technology and the future and the healthcare there's amazing people out there. So who knows where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years for the eye and your brain. It's keep your head up and good luck with everything. And thanks for being on the Late Drop, brother.
Amazing. Good job with all this. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Double D. See you, brother.